talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, Chris DiCarlo. Today, we got a very special guest making his debut on the show. It's Dee, the Revenant Reddick. How are we doing today, my man?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. You know, it's about time we got you on the show. Looking forward to this next fight you got coming up. You're going in there, Fight for It 22 versus Jacob Pais for the vacant amateur lightweight championship. This one's going down September 14th in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Of course, you know, we're here to talk about that one, man. But since you are new to the show, I'd like to get into your background a little bit, get to know you a little bit better, and then we'll dive into the fight. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds like a plan, man.
Perfect, man. All right. Off top, man, where were you born and raised, and what was growing up kind of like for you?
Okay, so I was born in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. But my mom was in the military, so like we moved all around. So I kind of attribute like hometown growing up as in surprisingly Greensboro, North Carolina is where I kind of grew up and everything. And then after that, you know, just regular kid. Uh, did almost everything. Like I played tennis, soccer, volleyball, all that. I just wanted to be active, but I kind of found like my true love in wrestling.
Hmm.
Because I wasn't really like much of a team sports guy. So wrestling was kind of like perfect because it's still that team aspect, but you still got that individual concept. So took off from there. Didn't think I was gonna do anything with it. I was just trying to kill time. And you know, end up getting some pretty good people in my life, coaches, teammates, and then they're like, oh, like this is possible in college. And it's like, that's good because I don't want to go to college. But if wrestling's there, like I'll do it. So I ended up actually, whenever anybody asks about this, I think the important part to say is that uh in high school, like I was kind of like one of the top guys. Like I think I was like second or something in the state in my weight class. However, I wrestled a kid named Nash Philbeck. I'll never forget the dude, and lost to him in the state finals. Kid I beat like 6 or 5 times, like over the course of the entire high school career, and just the time where it mattered, he won, which taught me a lot. But I kind of attribute to not only going to college, but also doing MMA because I was like, dude, I've been like not eating burgers and sacrificing parties and all this stuff, and I need something to show for it. So it kind of comes like kind of full circle to where we are now, and it's just riding on a good thing and trying to keep that success going, man.
Love that, man. I love to hear that. I know you do have an extensive wrestling background. You touched on a little bit there. Is that what kind of led into your introduction to MMA? Just give me that quick story real quick. How'd you get introduced to the sport? First time in the gym, man. Just give me that rundown.
Yeah, so you're the first person to ask about like what kind of got me into MMA, like what was that, like damn, like I want to do that. And surprisingly, I got into the UFC back when Ronda Rousey was making her waves.
Mhm.
And for me, Ronda Rousey was like my Mike Tyson at the
Right.
time because you were just turning on the TV to see how fast she was going to submit somebody. And I was like, huh, that's cool. But then like kind of I was like, all right, I'm just watching here. And then after wrestling in college, like that was done. And like, you know, Connor's doing his thing and he just kind of shape shifted the entire industry. And I was like, man, like this is really cool. And I do see that wrestlers are dominating into it. And I was working an office job, man, and I still do. So if any of them listening, like I love my job. Um, but that kind of that desire to just kind of get back into it and seeing like the Rondas and the Connors and the DCs and just these people who I look up to, like having fun and winning and everything, kind of propelled me into like this. So I found Keith Richardson, and from there it was kind of like just putting fuel to the rocket, man. It's insane how far like I've gone with this. I know it's still kind of the beginning, but I knew what I was getting into, but every day is still a surprise, and thankfully a good one because of the people I'm surrounded by with. So yeah, I got bored with the office job, saw Keith's gym, went there as like a trial run, and then he's like, you know, you should like come and stick this through, and thanks to him, man, we're just kind of been sailing smoothly so far.
Nice, man. Love to hear that. Let's talk about your nickname a little bit. I know you go by the Revenant. What's the story behind the nickname, man? Give me that rundown.
Uh, I'm just a nerd, man. So it's easy to just pin it on like just big like pop culture things, which does tie into it a little bit. So everybody knows like The Revenant, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Mhm.
Excellent, excellent movie.
Fantastic.
Um, yes, man, it's great. That was kind of a little bit into it. I play a lot of video games, so I used to be big into Apex until they kind of redid everything, and now I suck, so I don't play anymore.
Right.
So, but there's this character that they call the Revenant, and his whole kit is just super cool. Like comes back from the dead, just totally dope. But those two things, I think I fell in love with because it's kind of a really good way to describe my career up to this point. So I've always been like this close and have not really gotten to it. But the thing that's kind of remained the same has been whenever I've been like down in matches, like there's matches like on Flow Wrestling and everything where I'm down in national tournaments to guys that I probably shouldn't even been on the mat with by 10 or 12 points. And in wrestling, you get teched after you go up by 15 points. But there, I can count on three hands probably. The amount of matches that I've had, like big time matches where I'm not supposed to be in there, I'm supposed to lose, and there's just kind of like this, like you have to kill me to beat me, and coming back from 10 or 12 points and then just rattling off a win like that has been like just like a defining moment, I feel like, of who I am. So that's kind of the birth of the Revenant, to where if you have to either knock me out, kill me, or just flat out just embarrass me, which is going to be very hard to do because I'm just a stubborn wrestler at heart. So that never die attitude is kind of like where I got the whole Revenant thing from.
Yeah, man, it's a unique nickname too. It's not one that I've come across very often. Obviously, it's something that sticks out too, and it sounds like it means a lot to you as well. So that's a recipe for a perfect nickname, if you ask me.
I like to think so, man, but I'm biased, so.
Of course, of course. You are 5-0, but there's still plenty of people in the world that maybe haven't seen you fight before. People listening to the show that maybe haven't seen you fight before. So for them, man, how would you describe your fight style?
My fighting style is very fundamental. I'm trying to add a couple things to it, but I do kind of stick in between a camp where the mindset is like all the extra flashy shit is cool. Like spinning back kicks, flying knees, like that's all good. But that's just seasoning. We want to make sure we get down to fundamentals. Like, where's your jab at? Because that's going to be probably the thing's going to be pumping out the most. Like, that's where everything starts. So
Mhm.
we like to kind of cement down the fundamentals and just get your one, two, threes, your fours and fives going. And then once we break somebody down, you can start putting a little seasoning on it.
Of course.
That's kind of how like my fight style is a little bit. I'm not going there to do anything too crazy until I get a little amped up and excited. So you're really just going to see, mainly for me, it's constant pressure. I really hate to be on my back foot or against the cage. It's like lava to me. So we always try to keep going forward, always attacking. But really, I mean, it's just diversity within your jabs, your hooks, and everything, constant pressure. And I probably shouldn't say this, but I like to use the idea that when if you search my name up, besides MMA, the first thing that's going to pop up is wrestling. So that's going to be people's game plan when they wrestle for me. And I think I can't say for certain, but my last fight with Sam Klepak, wonderful guy. If you haven't seen his fights, you got to. The kid is a guru at striking. But I do think that that's kind of what helped me win a little bit. Is because when you search my name, you're going to see wrestling. So everyone's like, oh, D1 wrestler, he's going to wrestle. But I don't really do many takedowns in my fights. I kind of use my shots to get in close and then start striking again. Again, probably shouldn't say that, but hey, they got to stop it anyway, so it
Right.
is what it is. But that's all it is. Constant pressure. I'm in your face. If I take you down, we're just gonna be going up and down until I decide to let you up. But I'm just grinding on the guy, man. And sometimes it's not gonna be pretty, but whatever gets the dub.
That's right, man. Whatever gets that job done, whatever gets you the win, that's all it takes in there, man. I
Yes,
know we
sir.
talked about it a little bit. Your wrestling background. I want to talk about your collegiate wrestling background a little bit. You mentioned D1. I know you were over at Campbell University. I know you're over at Appalachian State. Talk to me about coming out of high school, the recruitment process. I always find like D1 recruiting stories like fascinating and whatnot. What schools were you offered to you? What schools did you have on your short list? Just give me like your recruiting story, man, and why you ultimately settled on Campbell.
So to be honest, I had a couple of offers, but in terms of like big name, like Campbell and App are kind of the only ones. And I took a visit to Campbell because like we had done some talking and everything, but I actually didn't know that App was recruiting me. I don't think it would have changed anything, but I didn't realize that they were recruiting me until that national tournament that we were just talking about.
Hmm.
When the coaches come up and he's like, "Hey man, like you look pretty good. Like, what's the deal?" And I was like, "Dude, I just committed to Campbell like last week. Like, I
Right.
can't even really be talking to you." And he's like, "Oh, like okay, like it's all good, man. We would have loved to have you, but like, it's all good." But just that whole recruitment process, like with Carrie, I had a team. I think it was like Carrie Colat. We had Garrett Kiley. Uh, God, so many years ago. But those are the main two that I remember for right now. And general walk around the campus, kind of letting you know how things work. You get in the room with a couple of guys, and the guy at the time was Campbell's All American, who was Nathan Kreiser, who is a headache to wrestle because that guy is on top of you like glue, man. Like
Hmm.
he's a beast. But just getting in there, chopping up with the guys. I got to spend a lot of close time with a couple guys like Quentin Perez and Austin Kreiser, just a bunch of really good names in the wrestling community. So it was really just about them immersing me into that experience. And then how do you say no to like a guy like Kerry Collab, who's just a legend in the sport? Um, Even though App was recruiting me at the time, I don't think it would have turned out any differently. Even though I feel like I had better success at App, but I just couldn't turn down the opportunity to just work with somebody of that stature. So that's kind of how it was. And then I know you did mention about like just kind of how like college life feels as far as wrestling.
Hmm.
The biggest thing that caught me, but also a bunch of different guys. And I'm talking about guys who were 4-time, 5-time state champions and been wrestling since they're 7 years old. Is that in high school, you're the man. Like,
Right.
there's very few people that are going to be able to hang with you. In college, dude, everybody's a dog. Like,
Right.
there's no bad people in D1 wrestling. And that's kind of like the oh shit moment for everybody. It's like, you can either stick this through and try to work through it, or you can just kind of pack your bag and just kind of leave. And that choice, like, especially some days, man, you go in there and you're just getting ragdolled, dude. And some days you're the man, but it's just about having the idea of like the whole thing behind the Revenant, man. Like, I'm going in, and even if I do get my ass kicked once, twice, or even 3 times, like, I'm back in there the next day. I'm asking the guys who beat my ass what happened. I'm working with the coaches. So it's all about the whole idea of just turning your failures into successes. And I feel like that's the whole D1 experience, man, because trust me, you are going to fail at that level at some point.
Right.
At some point.
For sure, man. I know you redshirted at Campbell too, so you did have an extra year of eligibility that you turned into transfer to Appalachian State. Talk to me about your time at App State a little bit, man. What was that like being there at a big D1 program?
Dude, it was absolutely amazing. So Campbell is a kind of it's a
Yeah, are
very
they like
small college.
FCS? Are they like FCS Campbell? Or are they like like the subdivision of D1?
So basically, it's like that.
Yeah.
So basically, and they might have changed since I've left, but when I was there, it was pretty much that you were either going to be, depending on the sport, FCS or like Sunbelt.
Hmm.
And wrestling, we were just the only ones like in SoCon, I believe. So we were kind of sheltered away from that. But just like you said, like very small, like everybody knows each other in that
Hmm.
community. And when you go to App State, you get these big, beautiful mountains, man. I got deer in my front yard. I got to scream at so I can go to class.
Right.
It's beautiful, man. I mean, and Campbell's a dry county, App is not, so that's all I'll say on that one.
Right.
Um, but it was amazing, man. And I've talked about how they were rivals, like big time rivals, like hated each other. But the whole transition from me going to App was that I grew up with these guys who were on this team, so I knew a good handful of them. But not only that, like the hospitality and everything of all those people and everybody in Boone was just spectacular. So from the get go, it was just from day one, we don't care where you've been, we don't care what you've done. Let's get to work, and we're gonna show you some things. You take what you like. And John Mark Bentley, man, is an amazing coach because there's not many times that you see North Carolina wrestlers grow in the atmosphere of D1 wrestling. And that's like his like stick. Like he's gonna have like a couple guys who are like, California, New York, all that. But his main focus is kind of taking those guys that he wrestled apart with. Because if you don't know about John Mark Bentley, dude was a stud in high school wrestling too, and was also a stud in college. But its heart is really in North Carolina, which kind of was really beneficial to my career going in because I wasn't a blue chip guy.
Hmm.
I think I might have been like 130 and 27 or something when I was in high school, but it's North Carolina wrestling. It's not as strong as New York and all those northern states and everything. But
Right.
there's something about Bentley and App State where they can just pull that shit out of you. And I'm just forever thankful for him and the opportunity that I got there.
That's awesome, man. Let's transition that into your MMA career. You are currently 5-0 as an amateur lightweight, 2 finishes, 3 decisions to your name. When you made that first walk to your first MMA fight back in 2023, what were the feelings and emotions for you, making that walk in? Did anything feel similar to like walking out to the mats at wrestling that you could draw on to like calm the nerves? Just give me like that comparison between the two there.
Yeah, that's it's an amazing question, man. Um, the first fight against Silas Muscat was at Next Level Fight Club. Dude is a warrior. The walkout and everything was just like you said. There weren't really any nerves. I've actually had more nerves in wrestling matches like when I was in college than I did my first fight.
Hmm.
But when you have like over 300, 400 matches and everything like that, like the walks just get a little easier every time. There's still a little twinge, I'm not gonna lie. Especially when you're going up against a guy like Silas Muscat, who I believe was like 2-2 at the time, and he's like fighting in different countries and everything. With that being said, the walk was easy, but I had a chip on my shoulder because, excuse me, I had a chip on my shoulder just because there are guys like you're a debut fighter and you're fighting a guy who's going into his 5th fight, and it's like, yeah, like he's good, but I'm fucking good too. Like I've been doing this for a little bit. Like I've been training with the best. I've been wrestling, which I feel like is one of the best pedigrees you can have for MMA.
Hmm.
So I was kind of like, hey, like look at me too. So it kind of just fueled that performance. I did make a lot of like sloppy mistakes, but it's first fight. But it was all cool, man. Like we got in there, and then I'm against the cage, and it's just like wrestling. You hear that whistle, and it's all good. And the cage, you hear that bell, and all that nervousness just leaves, and it's a fight from there. So it was pretty good, and I'm just very thankful to not only have Next Level, but to have Silas and Jimmo as opponents in that first go through.
For sure, man. I talked to Jake Ferry recently, who is also a D1 wrestler over at Kent State. He made a comment to me that I thought was pretty interesting about the process of getting ready for an MMA fight versus the process of getting ready for like wrestling. So you said that like MMA kind of felt like such a slow, drawn out process to get ready for a fight, whereas wrestling season's always just wait, cut, go, go, go. Is that something that you would, agree with or relate to? Or if not, kind of what's the similarities and differences there between getting ready for one versus the other?
Yeah, no, I think Jake put it perfectly. Also, shout out Jake, cool dude. He's
Yeah,
he's still
he's
he's
the
killing
man.
people out there, dude.
He is.
Um, but no, he described it perfectly. Wrestling is kind of like you get your schedule. Um, you might have 3 matches a week, you might have 2 matches a week, but you're constantly on that weight cut, so it's kind of like go go go. With wrestling, you kind of get a little bit more leeway depending on your situation, where if your coach is picking or if you have a manager or anything, but it's more drawn out into. I feel like with wrestling, there's really not any room for error with your weight or anything or preparation. Like if you blow up a little bit, it definitely does have some negative effects, but it's not in MMA. I feel like it's not as dangerous for you to have those slip ups because you might fight once and then like January and then you don't take another fight till September. So you got
Right.
time and you kind of know everything. So yeah, definitely wrestling's like definitely go to it, stick to it. MMA is kind of like, all right, you got a goal. We're trying to get here. How much time do we have? Have a plan, execute it. So it's not really that much. You can kind of go off a script with MMA, where wrestling is more dynamic.
Hmm. Interesting, man. Interesting. I know you train over at Modern Warrior MMA. Talk to me about the gym that you train at, man. What's the vibe like over there for you guys? The culture you guys are kind of building.
So the vibe at the gym right now, especially because we have, I think, the card that I'm fighting on alone, I'm pretty sure we got like 6 or 7 guys fighting on that card. Then we have Alexa Connors, who is going to be fighting for a world title pretty soon, right after me. Um, Keith Richardson, Taylor Starling just both competed for world championships at BKFC. So the vibe has just been on go. Like we're trying to bring as many belts as we can back to Rock Hill and set them up in that gym. Um, but as far as like training and everything, I couldn't be more. I could not be more privileged to be in that room because again, you got pros and just gifted people, talented people like Keith who dude is 23-11 and just won a world championship in a sport that is arguably his worst discipline.
Right.
Uh, Taylor Starlin, even though she just had the loss in that last fight, she rocked it, man. And just like her ability to just overcome mentally and physically all the stuff she's been through has been amazing. And even if she's kicking herself right now, and if you're watching Taylor, you're still number 2 in the world, girl, and you got plenty of time. So there's that. And we also have just guys firing on cylinders. Pedro's competed on UFC Fight Pass. Didn't go how we wanted, but we got things to work off of. So we got a bunch of lessons coming through. We have a bunch of training coming through, but we have so much knowledge in that gym that you can just grasp from that. I mean, I even tell people that I've followed before, like, if you want to come up like a Sunday or a Thursday or something and just kind of like soak this in, this is something that people need. You
Mm.
have people here who have been to the places that you're trying to go, and it's kind of a waste if you're not soaking that up. So they're constantly pouring in this knowledge. Keith is setting the pace. I think I just uploaded a video where he put me on that damn sled. Again, I hate that thing, but again, like it's doing the shit you don't want to do.
Of course.
And I'm just thankful, man. Like I got people like that in my life to keep pushing. And it's not me who's 5-0. It's the gym and everybody who I worked with. So constant pressure, and we're just gonna keep on burying these dudes, man.
That's awesome, man. It's a great mentality to carry with you, man. And it's great that you have a gym full of people like that that have your back and vice versa as well. I think that's very important, especially in a sport like this where it's very unforgiving. So it's nice to have a room full of people that you can connect with like that for sure.
Yeah, you ain't lied, man. You ain't lied.
All right, man. Let's get into it, man. The reason we are here, Fight for It 22. You're taking on Jacob Pais for the vacant lightweight title. Highly anticipated matchup between the two of you. A big one for the Carolina regional scene as far as Amis go. I know you guys have had your social media beef and whatnot, so I got to ask, what started this entire beef between the two of you? Give me kind of the rundown timeline of events, if you will, to kind of try and hype this thing up a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So everything all kind of started, I think about a year ago, maybe 9 months or something. Kid comes to my DMs talking all this good stuff. He gets ignored for about a good 3, 4 months. But then he's kind of persistent. Um, Kind of riding my coattails a little bit because I think I was just coming off like one of the bigger fights of my career, which was being on UFC Fight Pass. Um, and I think he wanted a taste of that because he was begging for a fight at APFC, and I'm like, dude, you fought in North Carolina like 3 times, and the people that you fought, no offense to them, but are not of that same stature that I'm of or the gym that I'm at. So like, you haven't done anything for this fight. So I think he kind of took it a little bit personal with the denial and everything, and then we all know like his antics get him fights, so he kind of ramped that up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I was just playing into it, like, oh, okay, like whatever, firing a couple jabs back. But then, as much as I hate to say it, the kid starts winning fights. He beat a guy that I beat, who's pretty damn good, and then he's stringing off these all the different fights. So, as much as I hate the kid, it gets a little hard to deny him. And then, with everything that we're building up, why not fight the kid, especially for his belt? Which, don't get me wrong, I love Fight for It. Everything they're doing, the belt is going to be so pretty going around my waist, but I just want to put 4 ounce gloves to this dude's teeth. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how it all started, and he's ramped it up with a little bit more personal things, which is fine. Like you can do that, but it's a little bit of recipe for disaster when you try to do mind games with somebody who enjoys mind games and just kind of like cerebralness. So he's kind of playing a little bit of a dangerous game, but he's got 11, 12 days to figure it out. I don't think he's going to, but I just hope that all the noise that he was talking before makes sense whenever we step across from each other. Like, I don't want any hand touches. I don't want any hugs. We step in the middle. Nobody takes a step back, and he finally gets what he's asking for.
There we go, man. Very excited to tune into this one and definitely going to be able to check this one out. I think it's going to be, like I said, highly anticipated matchup between the two of you. I think it's going to be a very interesting fight for sure. I know when I had Pais on my show in the past, he had mentioned your name as well. It seems like this fight was kind of inevitably going to happen at some point. Why was now September 14th the time to make this one happen?
I think things just kind of clicked right here, just right place, right time. He's been champ and everything. I think I went to a couple of fights where he won, and he called me out at his last one. So why not? The promoter Marcelo Rodriguez is such a good dude for. I mean, I haven't had any fights for his promotion, and yet I'm being allowed to get a championship fight. So shout out to him for the opportunity. But yeah, just right place, right time. He's 5-1. I'm 5-0. I'm we talked about going pro next year, but I don't think I can wait till I go pro to just put my hands on this dude. So it just manifested, man, and thank God it did.
For sure, man. The personal feelings aside, let's break down the fight as it is. How do you feel about Pais as an opponent, man? How do you think you guys stack up against each other?
I'm gonna be completely honest. Even with the ill-advised feelings that I do have for him, I just genuinely don't think that he can beat me in anything, like in any discipline. I think the one that he might get me in is jujitsu, maybe. It just all depends on my attitude and how I approach it. Because if I'm trying to go out there and prove something instead of trying to win the fight, I do think that you get caught up in some of his traps because he's not the most technical jujitsu guy, but he's so long that it buys him a little bit more time to sink in these chokes and these hooks. So I think I'm just gonna have to be a little cautious there. But I mean, his striking doesn't scare me. It's very rudimentary, and his wrestling definitely doesn't scare me. I mean, the perfect way to describe that without me being cocky is just I've been wrestling since I'm 7 years old. If you take even if he does take me down, like you're not gonna hold me down. Um, and if you do decide to shoot, I'll stand in the middle. And from Kerry Colat, and the wise words from him, if somebody wants to shoot on you, let them shoot, motherfucker. I dare you. So it's just like that. I don't think his hands are better than mine. I don't think his wrestling's better than mine. And I do think my jiu-jitsu is better than his. I just got to be a little cautious and not play those games, which I feel like I've been pretty good at. Um, so to be honest, I don't think this is a fight for him. So I just hope that he's got to pull something out of his ass to make this work.
For sure. Your style is pretty much like very wrestling base heavy with your technical skills are very like on a straight line. He's very long and lanky and unorthodox. Do you feel like this is going to be a fight that the fans are going to be pretty excited to see considering the contrast of styles here?
I do. I do think that the fans are gonna be really excited. One, if we just take out the fighting aspect of it, just the feeling and the animosity that me and Jacob have towards each other, and then there's people that hate his guts that are gonna be at the fight. There's people who hate my guts who are gonna be at the fight, which is just a recipe for just a perfect night. I honestly do feel like, as much as I hate to agree with the kid, that we could probably do this fight as its own separate card if the commissions and everything were cool with that and everything. Obviously they're not,
Hmm.
but it could be a card on its own just based off of everything that we built up. So um yeah, dude, I just can't wait, man. I'm trying to talk about it. I'm just thinking
Hmm.
about playing everything in my head. I do think they're going to appreciate the styles and everything because I mean, there's no choice, at least for the first couple of rounds, to keep it up because I won't be shooting for a takedown. And I mean, if you shoot for one, I'm just gonna suck him back up and keep it on the feet. It's gonna be a slobber knocker, man, just straight in front of us. And if he's a man of his word, he'll stand up with me and throw hands, especially since he believes his hands are better than mine. So
Of course, man. Of course. And what can the fans in Rock Hill, South Carolina expect from the Revenant once those cage doors lock on September 14th?
same as usual. Everything is pretty much the same. The only thing that changes is that for the first time, Um, and I don't even count the UFC Fight Pass. I had some bitter feelings against Anthony Lorenzo in my last fight because of how things kind of played out backstage. But even then, we hashed it out. But September 14th, you get two guys who really don't like each other locked into a cage. And I'm in there with a kid that I don't like, and I'm scared for him just because I know that this isn't what he wants. And sometimes I'm hitting the bag, and sometimes I'm going and sparring, and I'm throwing strikes, and I'm genuinely scared for this dude because once those cage doors lock, there's no more Dee Reddick. It's just the Revenant, and we're out looking for blood. There's nowhere to go either between those cage link fences and everything. So I literally have I don't know if you can see, there's the biggest grin on my face because while I'm describing this, the thought of just me beating the hell out of him is playing through my head. The fans are going to be so excited to have a new champion. I know Marcelo is going to be very proud to have a champion that's not going to be making a mockery of his promotion. And in general, Rock Hill is going to have a belt. The bar is going to be open next door. Um, I will be there celebrating the win with my team and everybody in Rock Hill, and the fact that we just knocked over another guy who said that we couldn't do it.
There you go, man. And with the win, you will be the champion. You will also be 6-0 with that regional title to your name. What would you like next for you, man? There's still some few months left before the end of the year. Do you want to get back in there for one more AMI go? Any more AMI belts you got your eyes on? Or maybe you're considering turning pro? What's next for you after this fight?
So I've talked with Coach, and Coach gets kind of mad at me because, again, my whole mindset about everything is I like to I have a coach who's been on Bellator and VKFC and all that, and I have guys in my gym who've been to UFC. So my whole thing is I have full faith in them, and I'm in essence buying into the Kool-Aid with everything that they're doing. So whenever fights come up or opportunities come up, I go, "Does it sound good to you?" If he says yes, all right, we're training. So he's mentioned going pro, but that is also um, depending on our performances on the next couple of fights. After that's done, well, sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit.
Mhm.
Before we go pro, we have talked about defending the fight for a belt. I don't think either of us like the idea of just kind of grabbing a belt and kind of holding it hostage a little bit, especially when I kind of jump the line. There's a bunch of good guys in the 55 weight class who definitely deserve an opportunity, and they will definitely get that whenever I'm champ. It's just a matter of when. Shaquan Oliver was a good fighter. He trains with Brandon Gask, who I fought before, previously challenged for the title. That's an exciting matchup. Jacob's brother could get the work too whenever he wants. He's been talking a lot of trash. But I want to be a fighting champion. So whoever wants it can get it because we aren't scared of anybody. There's no need to be scared of anybody. We've been through the fire so many times. So that's with that. I do want to get back on APFC at some point in time. They are coming to Virginia in November, so we do have our eyes
Nice.
set on that. Um, but other than that, man, it's just constant work and full belief in my coaches to kind of just let me know what's in the air. And whoever wants it, man, they can get it. And that's not like an arrogant or ego thing, man. I have full faith in everybody behind me, and I've been through so much stuff with so many great people that you got to kill me, dude. And so far, nobody's been able to do it yet. And I'm kind of eager to see the person that will do it. But until then, we'll keep stringing together these wins.
There you go, man. D, I appreciate the time, man. Thanks for coming on the show and talking to me. It's been a blast. I will definitely be tuned in for this fight, man. Just hearing you talking about it, I could see it in your eyes. I could see it in the way you speak. That man, you're very excited to get in there in a couple weeks, man. So I'll be tuned in. Anybody that's watching this, man, I'm sure they'll be tuned in as well. Before I let you go and get you out of here, man, where can the people come find you on social media and anything you want to plug, any sponsors you want to shout out? This is your time.
Sure, man. I am on Instagram at the Revenant MMA. Don't go to my Facebook because there's like pictures of me as a baby. You guys don't need to see that. It's
You don't
too
need to
many
see all
memes.
that.
Yeah, don't need to see all that. Do not find my Facebook. I'm on Twitter the same way, probably reposting some stupid memes. The
Nice.
Revenant MMA there as well. Other than that, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to get on the show, man. It means a lot, especially with everything you're doing for the MMA community. So hats off to you.
Appreciate it.
Um, Everybody at Modern Warrior, dude. People are gonna get tired of me doing this shit, but everybody at Modern Warrior, you guys are so instrumental to my success. And anytime that I do say my or me or anything that involves like first person, it is just please consider that all of you and anybody who's helped me to this point, because without you, there is no Revenant. And then other than that, the hat Victory Speaks. I got a great team over here. Um, Jake Matthews is the head of that, man. Dude is one of the best people you could ask for as a support team in your life. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the gear, all the time and effort that you put in me, and the belief you put into me as well. And other than that, September 14th, we got a fucking fight.
Let's go, man. D, the Revenant, Reddick. Appreciate the time once again, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, brother.
Got down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.